Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our third TMA virtual briefing this month with the Illinois Gubernatorial Candidates. My name is Rich Carter. I'm TMA's Government Affairs Consultant, and I'll be the moderator for today's briefing. We're joined by TMA News Editor Fran Eaton, and our special guest today is Gary Rabine, candidate for the Republican nomination for Illinois Governor. Good morning, Fran and Gary.
Good morning, Rich and Fran. Thank you for having me today. I really appreciate being here.
Great to have you. With hundreds of state and federal candidates battling for their party's nominations in the June 28th primary election in Illinois, TMA members and their employees are in a great position to help decide who will represent them in Springfield and Washington, D.C. going forward. The most significant race for TMA members on the June 28th primary ballot is undoubtedly the Republican gubernatorial race, with 6 candidates vying to take on incumbent Governor J.B. Pritzker in November. Knowing what's at stake in the race for governor, TMA reached out to the candidates and requested their participation in individual virtual briefings with TMA members. We kicked off those briefings with candidates Jesse Sullivan last week and Darren Bailey yesterday. We're going to spend the next half hour having a conversation with Gary Rabine to learn his background, why he's running for governor, and how he can help TMA members thrive and create good-paying jobs for the people of Illinois. Now, I'll turn it over to TMA News Editor Fran Eaton, who will introduce our special guest, give him a few minutes to tell us why he's running for governor, and ask him the first few questions. Fran?
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for taking time for this today. It's been an honor to speak with each one of the persons that are offering themselves to be on the candidates list for governor in the November 2022 election. And this morning, we're going to be talking with Gary Rabine. And Gary Rabine was born and raised in rural McHenry County, Illinois. He says he didn't have much growing up, but he was loved by his parents and taught the value of hard work and discipline. Upon graduating from high school, Gary harnessed those values and began building his first business, a seal coating driveways. Gary developed that business into one of the largest parking lot paving companies in America. Gary has gone on to build and turn around over a dozen other companies under the Rabine Group umbrella, which is now does business in all 50 states and is based right in Schaumburg, where TMA is based. Mr. Rabine, thank you so much for coming today. First of all, I'd just like to hear a little bit more about you from your perspective, what you want us to know, and why are you running for governor?
Hey, Fran and Rich, thank you for having me here. I really appreciate this. You know what, I'm running, if people look at my background, they would say, okay, he's a paving guy, he's done, this construction services business. What really, qualifies and what motivates him? And I gotta tell you, I'm motivated by the fact that I have 3 grandkids. I'm sincerely worried about my grandkids, Lincoln, Sienna, and Raphael, the 6, 3, and 1, having the opportunity that I was given by, handed over by my grandparents and parents, to be in this great state, in this great country where opportunity is abundant. And I got to tell you, I've built my business over the last 40 years from a couple $1,000 investment at 18 years old out of high school to where we are today. We're one of the biggest paving companies in the country when it comes to commercial paving. We do commercial paving all over the country for some of the biggest property owners in the country. We have 13 companies all together in the Rabine Group, and I got to tell you, when we look at our companies, 7 of the 13 companies we have here in Schaumburg, Illinois, do not belong in Illinois anymore. And I say this, I'm not leaving, right? But anybody that understands math and liability would look and say, boy, why are you here anymore? Because those companies, again, are at risk of survival or just a lack of opportunity that other competitive companies in the country have against us. So I'm very concerned with a couple of things. I'm concerned culturally with our state of Illinois, where it's going, and what's going to be left for my grandkids. And I'm really concerned economically. Economics are my strong point. As I grow my business across America, I've also gotten involved in some organizations for small business. One is called Job Creators Network, which I would recommend anybody look at that's a small business or a mid-sized business owner. I was part of founding it about 12 years ago with Bernie Marcus, the founder of Home Depot. I was one of the first six CEOs in the group. Today we have over 400,000 businesses that are part of Job Creators Network. And all we do is we look out for regulations. We search for bad regulation, or watch for bad regulations that would push businesses out of our country, and we fight them at the federal level. Job Creators Network has done some amazing things. even as much as recently, I was the CEO that partnered with the CEO of Job Creators Network to sue Biden. And on January 14th, this is against the vaccine mandate. My about 400 plus employees that we have in 13 companies, we would have been forced to vaccinate our teammates. I didn't believe that was constitutional. We fought it and we won on January 14th to stop the demand of the mandate of vaccinations that Biden and OSHA were trying to throw at all of us. All of us listening that have companies over 100 employees would have been part of this. We stopped it. It was for over 80 million working Americans. So I've been blessed to be part of that. I was part of founding also Turning Point USA, where we teach kids to fight for freedom and free enterprise and fight against socialism and communism that are being taught in our schools across America. Charlie Kirk and I and one other person were the original. Actually, we had three of us initially were the original founders. Today we have about 500,000 kids in college campuses across America. So I'm one that has a crazy life experience of not just growing in Illinois where our companies are, but across America. And what I found is Illinois has become the worst state in America for regulations on small business, as well as taxation on properties and many other things. So when things have been changed in the past, when a state has gone from a lousy state to a great state like Tennessee or Indiana, what do? They went after two things extensively. They went after property tax to lower them to be competitive with the rest of the country, as Mitch Daniels did in Indiana. They went after regulations on small business and the businesses like mine and yours, manufacturing, construction services, where businesses would feel good about being there again. And as many of you may know, Fran and Rich and anybody listening, Illinois just keeps piling on regulation on small business. They never go back and look at what stupid regulations are in place that shouldn't be there. They never look at competing with other states in the country. They just think they can continue to do this. So I'm the best candidate for governor when it comes to understanding these things, as I built my businesses and seeing the pressure on small business in our state. As I travel the country, and we're now in Dallas, Texas, we're in Maryland, we're out west, and when we look at these other markets, they're nothing compared to ours because they've actually paid attention to the struggles of small business, and they've actually reduced and lightened up regulation. They've also lowered taxes. We've never done those two things in Illinois. With the Rabine governorship, we're going to go after these things very hard. So that's kind of me. I'm a father of 4 kids, 3 grandchildren, as I said. I was married for 35 years to an amazing woman who inspired me every day of her life. My wife died of brain cancer a year and 7 months ago. My wife was a beacon for me as a Christian, and I'll live the rest of my life to serve others. And this will be one of the biggest servant opportunities I'll ever have in my life, to actually serve the citizens of Illinois and really change this state to a state where people love to be. It won't be easy, but I'm ready for the job. My life experiences are incredible. I've got amazing advisors around me, such as people you may have heard of, Steve Moore. We've got Art Laffer, Steve Moore, my economic minds that are amazing. Got some of the best minds in policing, some of the best minds in human trafficking and drug trafficking, which we've got huge problems there, and tax reform. So that's who I am. I'm going to always find the best. I'll finish up with over 13 companies. 4 of our companies today are world-class companies, and that's stuff I have fun talking about. But every one of our businesses today, every CEO in our small to mid-sized businesses has what we call a moonshot. A moonshot is something where we aspire to be the best we can be in the industry, and when we get there, there's not a lot of competition. And I believe Illinois' moonshot in 2025 should be, we have a state with more people moving into it than any other state in America. We do that, it'll be the biggest turnaround in the history of our country. And the economic plan I have, the cultural turnaround I have, we will get there.
Thank you so much. I think you already answered my first question with your response on the concerns on how to deal with the small businesses, what you would do differently. You made that very clear. I really appreciate that. So let's skip on to the second question, which is a focus on the Governor Pritzker that signed into law Senate Bill 2408, the energy bill last year. And we're watching that. As you would know, energy is one of the highest costs to our resources for manufacturers. And I was just wondering on this, we were all wondering there's not an infrastructure in place to put all these things into effect by 2030. 2050, which is the goal to have 100% renewable resources here in Illinois. What are your thoughts on that bill, and what solutions would you offer that you think could be offered to kind of make it a little bit more bearable what we're looking at?
So Fran, there's not a great solution on the path they're on. I mean, if we continue on their path, it's a disaster. I mean, they're basically, if you follow the California model of 15, 20 years ago, all right, their energy cost has been double ours for a long time, and we're getting there. We're going to catch them within 6 to 10 years as we follow this stupid plan that they put forward. My thing is this: I've been an entrepreneur all my life. We compete, bringing innovation into our businesses and competing without subsidies to be great. Okay, energy companies should be doing the same thing. I mean, this Green New Deal that our president believes in, and these I can't say much nice about them, so I got to hold back. But then our governor following this crazy Green New Deal, they're robbing from us taxpayers. They're taking away our great energy, and they're subsidizing, in my opinion, subservient energy that's not as good at all compared to nuclear, coal. I mean, clean coal. We've got the cleanest coal in the country. They're gonna end that. We got nuclear plants that could be maintained and upgraded, and they're gonna let these go by the wayside. These people are pushing with our money, with our subsidies that we shouldn't be putting out there. They're pushing bad energy, in my opinion. When we look at windmills, they're not close to the energy we've been blessed to have over the last decades. So in my opinion, it's a bad New Deal, in my opinion, and a new governor has to squash this in any way he can, because we're headed towards triple our energy costs from a few years ago. We'll be right there with California, with bad energy, with blackouts. I mean, you guys may know this, but we've over the last 20 years, we've been one of, if not the best state in the country when it comes to limited blackouts. Why? Because we've had the best energy. I mean, we've got the best nuclear in the country. We've had the best clean coal, natural gas, and now these son of a guns want to ruin this on us and give us their view of what they think is green energy. I'm upset about this, as you might see. I think solar has come a long way, and the solar innovators can continue to invest their money, not our money, in progressing with it. I think electric cars, maybe not a bad idea, but to force electric cars and to pay for electric stations everywhere in our state is ridiculous. These are things that our politicians and big government are terrible business people. They have terrible minds for economics. They should not be picking winners and losers, and they continue to. We have to stop that.
Thank you very much. Excellent response. I appreciate knowing your thoughts, and especially with the heat we're looking at for the next week. It's going to be a trial, I think, in the next week as to what is going to be happening here in the state of Illinois, especially downstate, where I think they're concerned about brownouts coming on. As we move forward on this, we as the Technology Manufacturing Association evaluates, looks at what our Illinois General Assembly does every year, and especially the issues that concern small and mid-sized manufacturers. We're especially concerned because in the past year, this past session, only 21 of 118 House members voted in a way that would give them a 75% score or higher concerning TMA issues. And in the Senate, only 12 of 59 voted in the same way, 75% or above. And so that's a really discouraging numbers that we're looking at as we evaluate how the legislature is responding to things that directly affect manufacturers here in Illinois. So how would a Rabine administration work to reverse the state legislature's negativity towards manufacturing? You're going to have a handful if you come upon this opportunity. How would you deal with that?
Yeah, so Fran, I mean, in business, I've been blessed in the last 20 years, more than the first 20 years, to understand how to inspire people to think differently or inspire them to make decisions that are good for the whole. So again, I talk about I have Democrats and Republicans and independents in our group in our businesses of all our employees. I've got our customers are thinking both sides of the fence as well as our vendors. And really, you need to show the direction of where we're going clearly and market the direction we're going in. We're losing businesses, as you guys know. Manufacturers will look at their numbers just like I do every year and understand whether they should stay here or not. And more are leaving. Construction services in my space, same thing, more and more are leaving because they continue to overburden us. We need to show the direction and the picture of what will happen in the next 5 to 10 years if we don't change our ways and show the darkness of an economy in Illinois that continues to lose more. We lost 122,000 people last year, 100,000 the year before. With that out migration, over $1 billion a year, well, over $1 billion last year, a little less than $1 billion the year before of taxes went with them. A lot of this is directly correlated with manufacturing and small businesses that they're not respecting at all. So I mean, we've got to have a leader that can really deliver a clear picture of where we were 10 years ago, 20 years ago, where we're at today, and what it's going to look like in 5 to 10 years. We will be we'll be the worst state in the country economically. We're already one of the worst, if not the worst economically in so many ways. But if we lose our manufacturing, we're done. And technology. And here's what they'll tell you. Pritzker will tell you that we are one of the top 10 technology startup states in the country. Chicago is one of the top technology cities in the country. Well, I got to tell you, we have 2 technology companies in the Rabine Group that are part of our construction services businesses. Both of those companies, for the first 3-4 years when they weren't profitable, we were throwing money into innovation and artificial intelligence and 3D technology, all the things we were doing to build these businesses. While they're building, we love being in Chicago and Illinois because we're not paying taxes, we're losing money, right? Investing and losing money. But once you're profitable, that CEO of mine will say, okay, Gary, we're making money now. We're creating enterprise value. When are we getting out? Okay. So what he doesn't tell us is within 4 or 5 years of profitability, most of these companies leave Illinois. Okay. These technology companies and manufacturing technology companies, construction technology companies. We have to stop that. And all these son of a guns know is subsidies. How do we incentivize them? How do we subsidize them? We have to stop this subsidizing stuff. Great states don't subsidize like we do. Great states offer a value proposition of competitive taxes, competitive regulation. So it's, in my opinion, Fran and Rich, it's a matter of really projecting the view of where we're going and the crash ahead, and then really getting these legislators to understand we want to be a great state. To do that, we need to keep manufacturers and grow manufacturers here in Illinois. We need to keep and grow technology here in Illinois. We're not going to do that if we continue on the same path. So I'm a visionary, and in my businesses, I've been very blessed to be able to project a vision of where we're going, good or bad. How do we change it or improve it, and then get my team and leaders to buy into it. I believe these legislators don't get it. They just have no clue what they're doing to our small businesses in Illinois.
Thank you so much for that information. Rich, I'm going to hand this back off to you so you can plug in with some of our members' questions directly. Thank you so much, Mr. Rabine. Thank you.
Thank you, Fran. Appreciate you.
Thanks so much, Gary and Fran. All right, now it's time for questions and answers. For those of you on your computers, or if you're using the mobile app, you can type your question and submit it through the Questions tab on the GoToWebinar control panel. I'll read the question and ask Gary to answer them. In the meantime, I'll ask Gary the first question that was pre-submitted from a TMA member. The question is, on the November election ballot, Illinois voters will once again be asked whether or not to amend the Constitution, state constitution. The proposed amendment would effectively ban and financially punish any employer for encouraging his or her employees to reject unionization of their business. No minimal requirements for business size or number of employees involved. Free market experts suggest the effort would require non-union TMA members to restructure their companies to include third-party negotiators. How will you be voting on this ballot question, and why have you chosen to vote that way? Gary?
Yeah, it is ridiculous. It's disgusting that they think this is okay for our state. So you guys, our 13 companies, 2 of them are union companies, and my biggest one in Illinois, Rabine Paving, my original company, was unionized. We battled the unions for 3.5 years. They pretty much broke me, but they didn't know I was broke. So I was able to negotiate a deal that was fair to keep me in business, and my deal allowed me to start businesses in other parts of the country, not subservient to the Chicagoland union deals. Okay, bottom line is that company, Rabine Paving, grew from $4 million of commercial work to probably $55-65 million a year in commercial paving we do today. So we hired a lot more union operators, laborers, and just union workers. And we're blessed that in the labor side, we're able to train our own finishers, concrete finishers, train our own. Operators wise in Illinois, you have to go through their hall. It's a pain in the neck because they don't train as well as we do, and then we have to retrain anyway. But bottom line is this: Chicago, unionization should be something that if we think it's best for a company, then great. But for the state to shove it down our throats is ridiculous. They're ruining our state with this. The threat of unionization will keep so many great companies out of Illinois. When you think about all the biggest manufacturers in the country over the last 10 years, they don't, 20 years ago, Illinois, where they'd look at first and foremost, the center of the greatest country in the world, the best, the best rail, the best air, right? The best infrastructure and roads, right? They would look at Illinois first. Now they don't even look at Illinois. They look at Texas first, then they might look at Atlanta, then maybe Nashville. They'll go to Des Moines before us. They'll go to Milwaukee before us. It's sickening. And these son of a guns are ruining it because there's nobody in their right mind that will pick Illinois when you have the threat of unionization we have today, and now they want to double down on it. This is ignorant. And by the way, I have about 5 unions that I'm part of, and none of them will endorse me. So you'll understand that, hey, I respect unionization because I have good businesses and great teammates that are unionized, and they do a great job. Midwestern work ethic is amazing. We will travel our union labor to other states even at 3 to 4 times the cost of labor and still win because we use 3D technology. We use electronics and paving like nobody else in the world. So we'll actually win with labor costs that's 3 to 5 times more in some cases, okay? But that doesn't mean that's a good thing. It means companies that are competing with the same technology can't go to other states and compete like I do. And again, this has to stop. We have to be a competitive state where people know they can come to Illinois and be free of this pressure that we have today. So as you might see, I'm totally against it. It's ridiculous. And I've not gotten any union endorsements from people that I pay millions of dollars per year to be part of. So people ask me, Rabine, how did you not get the endorsement from the laborers union, the operators union? I said, well, it's because I'm a pain in the neck to them. They know that I speak my mind, and they know when I tell them they're crazy when it comes to their forced unionization. We can't have it in Illinois if we want to survive, and if they want to survive.
Thanks, Gary. Again, if you'd like to ask a question, please type your question in the questions tab on the GoToWebinar control panel. All right, we do have a question from a TMA member. Question is, Gary, what does it mean when you say Illinois needs a cultural change?
When I say cultural change, I got to tell you, when I see what they're doing to our kids, my daughter is going to be homeschooling her kids. She's an attorney. Her and her husband have 3 small professional businesses. We're a family of entrepreneurs. My oldest son oversees all our companies. He's 35. He took my role. I went on to be with my wife a few years ago when in the last year of her life. But my daughter, she's 33. She oversees our national business, Rabine America. My next daughter is married. Her and her husband are lawyers. They have 3 businesses, and they're not homes. They're homeschooling. They're not sending their kids to what we called good schools before in McHenry County because they're afraid of what's going on. And I'm happy about this because I got to tell you, what I'm seeing in our schools culturally is sickening. We're grooming our kids and teaching them that it's okay to share your bodies and understand, that all the different sexes and genders and all this crazy stuff. When I see what's going on in our schools, it's sickening. That culture has to change, or we're going to ruin our kids. When I look at what we're doing to our police in the state of Illinois, this crazy bill, HB 3653, is ridiculous. We're not going to be able to arrest for trespassing next year in 2023 if this idiot governor of ours stays in place. Okay, 3653 is a disaster. When I look at the disrespect we have for our police, it makes me sick, and we have to change that culturally. So culturally, those are 2 big things. I'm also on the 20th of next week. I've got a friend of mine that's one of the foremost experts on human trafficking and drug trafficking. He was one of Trump's advisors, and he's my good friend, and he's my advisor. He believes Illinois is now the worst state in America for sex trafficking. And we're bringing kids here for their abortions now because of the Non-Notification Act. We are a sick state when it comes to morals and culturally. We have to change that. I'm an economic mind. I'm an infrastructure mind. I get those things inside and out. I'm gonna go after those hard. But boy, if we don't change the culture of our state, it's a place where I don't want my grandkids growing up in the long run if we don't change it. And so we have to.
Thanks, Gary. All right, we have another question submitted from a TMA member. Question is, Illinois business owners pay an excessive amount of taxes compared to neighboring states, especially property taxes. If elected, what would you do to reduce the tax burden on Illinois business owners? Gary?
Who's asking this question, Rich?
I don't know. It came in anonymous.
Well, I'll tell you what, that's a great question. I've touched on a little bit. I've touched on a little bit, but I'll tell you what, my economic advisors are the best in the country's history. Art Laffer was Nobel Prize winner. Steve Moore was Trump's advisor. And we know we can change our property tax. We know other states have done it before, and we have to, we must. It's not like, oh, we got to, my opponents will say we have to freeze property taxes, or they'll say that I'm gonna veto all taxes that come across my table. No, that's not good enough. We're the highest in America. We must lower our property taxes to be competitive with the rest of the country. That on average, guys, that's 1% of the value. So a $200,000 home should pay on average in the country $2,000. Where I live here in Woodstock, Illinois, we pay $8,000 for that $200,000 home now, 4% of the value. That's sickening. It's highway robbery. So it's not like, oh, we're gonna freeze them, or I'm gonna veto everything. No, that's not good enough. We must drive our property taxes down to the competitive number of 1%, so that our property values grow and Illinoisans have more money in their pockets on an annual basis. And you can do it. It's been done all over the country. It's a long story on all the different tools in the toolbox, but it can and it must be done.
Thanks so much, Gary. All right. Unfortunately, we've run out of time. We will give you a minute, though, Gary, if you have any closing thoughts for TMA members.
Yeah, you can compare me to the rest of these people running. I'm the only one of the top 4 candidates that's not funded by a billionaire, which, I believe that, billionaires that I talk to that I actually look to raise money from, didn't like, who I was as far as I'm a very strong Trump supporter. I'm also a very strong pro-life person. And for a few reasons, that and others didn't get endorsed or didn't get funded by any billionaires. So my race is being funded by myself and my friends, and we're gonna have a good amount of money in this thing. Somewhere between $4.5 and $5.5 million, which is usually pretty good. Anyway, I'm confident of this. There's no other candidate in this race who's built and turned around businesses and turned around things as much as I have. There's no candidate in this race who doesn't care to have the job, the title. I've got a great title in the Rabine Group of companies. It's the janitor and the inspirationer and the founder and all that. I love what I do in my businesses. I love working with my kids and my leaders. But I got to tell you, I want to stay in the state that I love so much. I'm the only one that will fight as a statesman, not a politician ever. I have common sense. I will never be bought. And I got to tell you, there's too many politicians we have running and too many in our state that they lack common sense or they're bought, and more are bought than the lack of common sense, in my opinion. So I'm the guy that's going to get stuff done in Illinois like nobody else, and I would love your vote. So consider. I'm more like manufacturers and technology people. Actually, I am one than anybody else in this race and building this. And actually, we started about over 3 dozen companies over the last 40 years. We operate 13 companies today. So I love business. I love entrepreneurship. And when I win, I'm going to do this for a term or two, and I'm going to inspire somebody else that people would want to take my spot, who's another statesman. And then I'm going to go back to business. I want to be back in business like a good statesman should.
Great. Thanks so much, Gary. Well, that will do it for today's virtual briefing. I want to thank Gary Rabine and Fran Eaton for joining us today, along with all of our TMA members on this webinar. Thanks again, and have a great day, everyone. Goodbye.
Nice. Appreciate you guys.